What's up? It's Vedel Gabriel. How you guys doing? First of all, I just want to thank everybody who's been loving the remixes I've been doing, especially the SWV remix. That one has been going crazy ever since I put it out during the summer, and I can't believe just how popular it's gotten, man. Like I can't put it into words. Like I've gotten interview opportunities and all kinds of crazy stuff off it, and you guys loving it. I just want to thank you so much. Like all the support goes a long way, even though I don't make no bread because of copyright issues, but that's neither here or there. The reason I made this video is because people have been asking me how I made the remixes, like how did I get the Sega Genesis sounds, the type of sound fonts I used, asking me if I used AI, and I'll say no to that. There's no generative AI in this whatsoever, but I'll get into all the nitty gritty in just a moment. But before we hop into FL Studio, I just want to thank today's sponsor. No, I'm just playing. There ain't no sponsor. I do have a Patreon though, and if you just want to get the remixes early, it's actually free. You can hop in, and I post the remixes anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month before I drop it on YouTube. And if you want to get like special stuff like exclusive beats, commission work, behind the scenes stuff like this video right here, it starts at $5. So if you want to get on some of that, the link's down below. It starts at $0 if you want the remix. It's $5 if you want the exclusive stuff. So hop in down below. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop into FL Studio right quick. So this is the project for Rain by SWV, remade entirely in the Sega Genesis style. Over here, you can see all my project folders. Well, some of them are project folders. There's actually my personal music library here and everything. But one thing I do want to disclose, like, with the exception of this specific remix and a few others that I've done, I have used MIDIs to help assist with the process. Like, and I say assist because a lot of these MIDIs that I do have are garbage. Like, no disrespect to the people who make them, but some of them are like either missing the mark or they're missing certain elements and things like that. So I have to fill in the gap. And also I want to give a shout out to DJ Shadow, my homeboy, not to be confused with the more famous guy from Maryland. He's actually been a big help helping me fix some of the stuff up and everything, and getting the chords right, picking the right sounds for some of these remixes. So he deserves a lot of credit for this SWV remix because he actually fixed some of the chord progressions and everything. But anyway, I'm yammering too much. Let's get right into it. So just to give a little background here, for those who might not know, I'm assuming most of you guys here have either heard the remix or know the original song, but Rain is a song by SWV featured on their album Release Some Tension in 1997. It was released as a single. It wasn't quite as big as some of their other hits, but it's still a classic nonetheless. And it's all about, at least according to some people, it's about, shall we say, doing some R. Kelly coded things during intimate times. Okay, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for that, but that's the best way I can put it without getting like demonetized. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably gonna get demonetized anyway for playing the damn track, but that's neither here or there. So let's just play the thing to get you guys in the zone. So you guys basically get the gist here. So let's break it down piece by piece, starting with pattern 1. The main part, the main event, the sexy chords. So how I got the sound, I use a plugin called ChipSynth MD by this company called Plogue. I think they're based out of Montreal, Quebec. I believe. I have to double check. But I know they're a Canadian company. So, long story short, the chip synth will let you pull sounds from the Mega Drive sound chip, and it actually has different settings here, as you can see. So I can't show the drop down menu because of how OBS captures stuff, but it has filters for the Mega Drive 1, the Mega Drive Model 2, the Nomad, raw sound for the 2612 sound chip, and raw sound for the 3438 sound chip. I prefer this one because I think it gives me like a more gritty feel. And there's also different DAC mixes, which is basically the sampler that's built into the Yamaha chip on the Genesis. It has different filters for that too. Model 1, Model 2, Nomad, Genesis Model 3. But I go 12-bit perfect because I want that. I want that sound to be as high quality as I can possibly get it. And as for the program itself, you can actually get different presets. The preset I used for here is called the Classy EP. But there's different types of presets you can get. There's of course different keyboard presets, which there's also the Ballad EP, which I also like. There's also stuff for brass instruments, leads, and everything. So there's sine leads. Guitars. Screamers. So like you can do everything from like you could do R&B, you could do EDM. Sky's the limit, really, if we're gonna be honest. And if you don't want to use the presets like I did for some of these channels, you can actually go into the Plug VGM player, and if you add the files, you can pull VGM files from the Sega Genesis and use them to play the sound from specific patches. Like, say if I wanted something if I wanted to use like piano sounds from Streets of Rage, I could pull from each channel from, say for example here, the good ending. There's channel A, there's channel B, and whichever one you pick, it'll show up in the stack here. Now for the Classy EP, it all uses these four here. But normally, whenever you open up chip synth, it'll be A B A B A B. And the sixth one is usually like the DAC channel, but you can have like dozens on dozens on dozens of like channels to mix and match with. It goes from A to P, depending on your selection, but that's for a whole other thing. So basically, just to break it down right quick, if I wanted like the piano sound, I could solo it, put that channel on A or B, C, D, wherever, and that's how I get the sounds from all these Sega Genesis games, from Streets of Rage to Sonic, Street Fighter, whatever else. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, by the way. I'm kind of freestyling this, so I'm just going on as I go. So that's basically how the piano's done. But I also got to show how the pad's done as well. The pad is actually not Sega Genesis, as you'll hear in just a second. Now this is actually from ChipSynth, but it's a different VST. It's called ChipSynth SFC. Basically, as the name implies, you can get sounds from the Super Nintendo video game series. Well, it's video game series, I mean the console. Basically, since it's sample based, you can actually load in your own samples, which is actually what I did here. I'm not gonna give away the sauce to that, but I didn't like any of the string samples from the presets or any of the Super Nintendo games, so I just threw in one of my own and boom. So yeah, while calling it a Sega Genesis remix is technically not accurate, the majority of the instruments are from the Sega Genesis. Now, enough rambling, let's keep going. There's also the bells. Now, this is something interesting Shadow put me on. Some of you probably already noticed if you've messed around with Sega Genesis sound channels and stuff. The bells here are from Sonic 1, and DJ Shadow and I had the same idea of using the bells, but I wanted to use the bells from Spring Yard, but he told me to use the ones from Starlight Zone instead. What I didn't know at the time, and he showed me this, is that Starlight actually uses 2 different bells throughout the song. There's the main bell here, which you all hear. But then there's also a detuned one that serves as backup. So once I figured out the tuning, it was just boom, smooth sailing from there. However, during the verses, I used a different bell instead of that because that bell was too harsh. These bad boys are actually from Chrono Trigger. As you can see here on Chits of SFC, you can have up to 8 channels. Some can be drum channels, some can be sampled instruments. This one's from Corridors of Time, and this one's from the opening from the same game. You can now for Corridors of Time, when you put it in, it's going to be detuned to hell, and that goes for a lot of different instruments too. So I had to fine tune it negative 24 cents, and then course another 20 cents. I don't know if y'all can see that here. It's a little small, but you get the gist, right? Anyhow. Once I got that down, I did some fine tuning. I put in a built-in echo for that's in chip synth until 6 echo. Now nowadays I wouldn't use these for the most part. Not saying they're not good, but I have a different VST now called Game Verb, which I didn't have at the time making this remix, but it emulates reverbs from the Super Nintendo, PlayStation, N64. And I think they got more on the way soon, but that's what I basically use now. But the built-in ones in SFC are still pretty good, and they serve their purpose. You feel me? And this one is also sample based, so it was used in SFC. It was basically just like a little wind chime because the original had it. Little crusty coming through the Super Nintendo sound chip, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically how I did the SWV remix. And like I said earlier, there is no AI, there's no MIDI either. Like some of my mixes, I've used MIDI assistance, but there's no existing MIDI for the song as far as I'm aware. I've looked, so I did this all by hand with help from DJ Shadow. And now onto this bad boy, the drums. Now I'm going to admit up front, there was AI used for these drums, but not generative AI. It was a stem separator. So before y'all come and crucify me, I'm just going to make it clear I do not mess with generative AI when it comes to my music. Like if I can use it as a tool like this using a stem separator, then yeah, I consider it fine. FL Studio has one built in that can let you strip the vocals, the drums, and other elements from the original song. But I think for This I used a different website called I think it was MVSEP. I swear by it. It has some of the best algorithms you'll get for separating drums, vocals, pianos, and other stuff like that. There is a bit of a wait time if you don't have the premium, but it is worth the wait as long as you're not like the 500 person in queue or anything like that. And as for how I bit crushed these bad boys, oh goddamn. This bad boy here is from a different company called it Inphonic. They have their own VGM player too for the Sega Genesis, but I personally prefer chipsynth stuff. But this decimator is actually good for crunching drums, whether you're using a sample loop like I am, or using like your own individual drum kits. And it has different settings too for whether you want a crystal clear output like I got here, or the legacy Sega Genesis output, which is more filtered. You can also bit crush it on the fly. Me, I tend not to bit crush my drums too much. On this one, I only bit crushed it to 3. Sometimes I'll do it to 5 on certain songs. It goes all the way up to 32. So I'll just go through the different levels of bit crushing. So this is like barely bit crushed, right? Now slowly move it up. Level 3. Level 5. Level 10. $20. Now, technically, my use of it here is actually kind of improper because when it comes to separating the stem, sometimes wind chimes count as like drums and percussion, and when you bit crush it, it's gonna sound like garbage. So, I try to keep it as much of a minimum as I could, but it still sounded bad. So that's why I added in like the extra wind chimes, like I showed you guys earlier. And I didn't bit crush the vocals like on some of my remixes I do now because I personally didn't do it for quality reasons. But as long as you're not overly bit crushing it, like the max you should do is like 2 or 3 in my opinion. If you're using the decimator, it should come out pretty good. I'll do that. But yeah, using the decimator like this on vocals, you should keep it at like 3 or 4 max. Just add a precaution so it doesn't sound too crusty. Another downside to the decimator is that if you don't fade it out, like I faded it out on the master here specifically, but if you don't fade out the drum channel it's on, like it'll keep generating like noise for like at least 30 seconds. So I thought, and like that drove me insane to no end, and I don't know why that is over at Inphonic, but I just put a fade on it just to get around it. But yeah, that's basically how Rain was made. And I'll probably do more of these breakdowns in the future. If you guys want more breakdowns, just say so in the comments. I apologize if I came off a bit too boring or scatterbrained, but I don't usually do this type of stuff, so I'm trying to do my best to be entertaining, you know? So with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Vidal Gario saying peace, and I'll see you at the next remix.
Victor. I knew you was in around, playing all innocent, hoeing since the foundation. Don't make me have to pound this 10 crown facing and risk being jammed up like traffic inbound through spacing. There's been a place for you in my heart since we first met. A teenage love that didn't feel no hurt yet. My boys warned me you was poison like BBD first cassette. And still I put my chips on the worst bet. Gave up the skirt, now I gotta hear from the street. How dare you drag my name in the dirt and cheat? You could've broke it off, ended it and dipped. And if you spoke soft, we could've still preserved the friendship.